Hi, everyone. Thank you for calling in today, and thank you for signing up for Baby's First Town Hall. We're really excited to share a couple of best practices with you today and hear some of your questions you might have. I'm Lauren Robertson. I'm the social media manager here at Child Care Aware of America. With me today...
It's a digital manager.
Oh my goodness, you all. I'm not the social media manager. You're having a laughing fit here. Okay, I am the digital advocacy manager. I also started a month ago, so I am deserving of a little bit of leeway. With me is Chrissy West, who is our director of advocacy, and Liz Twilley, who is our social media manager, and she's really our social media manager. So if you can get past us cracking up here because we apparently don't even know what we do. To get started, we're going to go over how to get time with your Congress member if you haven't already, and then to talk about what we're going to expect at these meetings, including what to expect at your meetings, including what to say, how to say it, and what our big ask is this year. And then Liz will talk briefly about how best to share your experience on social media and promote our big ask this year. So if you haven't gotten time yet with your congressperson, it can be different for different Congress members. Some Congress members ask you to call, some ask you to email, but a really easy way to get time with your Congress member is to check to see if they have a town hall meeting. So the Town Hall Project is a website that has a lot of resources about town halls and shows you if your Congress members have a town hall. And that's a really easy way where you don't have to schedule time with them. You just show up and you get on their list to talk, and then you are able to speak. And so you're not only getting your message to your Congress member, you're getting your message to everyone in the room as well. And if they don't have a town hall, that's okay. Most Congress members should be home early August. We are aiming for August 1st or 2nd because there is a brief recess this summer, but they have been called back to get back into session instead of having a longer summer recess this year. So to get time with your member, you just have to call or email or do both sometimes. And it's really good to be insistent. So if you haven't heard back from the office, to follow up within a couple days, and an aide will for sure get it back to you. And if the Congress member is not available, it's totally okay to meet with staff, but it's great to try to get staff that is particular to our area of childcare, education policy, early childhood, because they'll have a little more background on the topic, and they also will be able to provide more feedback and context for what their Congress member's perspective is on early childhood and childcare. And then once you have a time and a place for your meeting or town hall, make sure you complete this form. I made a really easy to remember bit.ly. It's bit.ly/BFTH18. And that form just will be a space for you to share where you're meeting, when you're meeting, and if you have any questions for us to prepare. And that will help us track and understand when we'll have people going to on the 1st or the 2nd or later into August, and when to expect social media posts and stuff like that. So we have leaders and advocates signed up to do Baby's First Town Hall, and we'll get deeper into what our asks are for the advocates. But for CCR and our leaders who have signed up, thank you. We're really excited to have such strong advocates at the CCR and R level in states across the country. So in the next few days, we will be emailing you, reaching out to you to connect you to different advocates who have signed up in your area, to try to connect you to be, whether that's you go as teams to your Congress members, or you might confer on what to say, talk about state-specific needs. And then you're more than welcome to schedule your own meetings as well. Your perspective as a CCR and our leader is just as important, and you have a lot of experience and stories to share as well. So we will be sending out emails to you specifically early next week, so be on the lookout for that. If you have any questions, you can always reach out to myself.
Okay, so we're going to talk really briefly about the difference between a town hall versus a meeting, and it really depends on whether or not your elected official is hosting a town hall. Last year when we did Baby's First Town Hall, no legislators were hosting town halls, like in the entire country. It was kind of on the heels of like the 50th attempt to repeal the Affordable Care Act, and a lot of legislators got hit with some blowback from their constituents, so they decided to not speak to their constituents basically over the summer. This year we found that a lot of elected officials are actually hosting town halls, so we're hoping you'll go to the townhallproject.com.
I think it's .org.
.org.
You can also Google Town Hall Project, and it's the first one that comes up. So.
To see if your legislator is hosting a town hall near you, and if they're not, that's totally fine. We're hoping that you'll be able to schedule a meeting with them or their staff for August 1st or 2nd. So there's a couple differences. So for the town hall, you'll arrive, there'll be a lot of other constituents from your community, from your state, and then depending on how the town hall is organized, some may require you to sign up in advance to speak. Some may ask you to sign up on a speaking sheet when you arrive, and some actually just put out usually 2 microphones, one on either side at the front of the room, and they ask people to line up at a specific point during the presentation. If that is the case, it's usually easiest to get into line where you'll be likely to get chosen to ask your question if you are sitting near the end of your aisle so that you don't have to climb over people. That's just one little tip, so that you can get to the microphone in a timely manner, because oftentimes if there are a lot of people lined up to speak on really important issues with their legislator, they don't get to everybody. So we suggest sitting near the end of one of the rows so that you'll be able to get out in time. For a town hall, you'll need to keep your comments really brief and to the point. They don't like a lot of exposition. So if you just want to lay out the issue, if sharing your child care story, which is really important, and then pivoting right to the ask, it's really good to try to get them kind of on record on our issue. And the bonus is that not only does your legislator hear about this, but hopefully other attendees at the town hall will as well. And hopefully they also have children or care about early education, and they'll maybe look up that issue or try to get in touch with someone. And so that's kind of how we spread our message. Now, the difference is with a meeting, if your legislator doesn't have a town hall, you'll probably be meeting with staff. It's usually kind of unlikely that the legislator, even if they're in town, will be able to meet with a lot of constituents while they're back for August recess, because it is such a short time period, and also because they have a lot of other events. I know this is also an election year, so some of them may be doing a little bit of campaigning while they're home in the district. So it's totally fine to meet with a staff person. If it's possible to meet with someone that's tasked with our issues on the policy side, that's better, but you can also meet with just a constituent representative too. Anything to kind of be able to get to share your story and make sure that it gets back to the lawmaker is what we're looking for. You will have a little bit more time than when you were at a town hall speaking at the microphone. So for the town hall, you get maybe a minute. With a meeting with your legislator or their staff, you could get 15, 30 minutes if you really have a great rapport and you have a lot of knowledge and background on the issues. It might even go a little bit longer. But we really want you to focus on your personal story, since that's kind of the driving factor of why we're here. And it's the part that we don't have. We don't have your personal story on childcare and early childhood education, and that's what we need to kind of make this personal for them. And then we'll also be giving you a link to a resource that you can print out and leave with your contact. And that's usually good background info for them. They're often not up to date on some of the policy issues that we're asking about. And so it's really helpful to leave that with them so they can pass it on to the lawmaker. So those are just kind of what to expect depending on how you're going to be talking to your legislator.
So we think the most important part of you all going out to meet with your legislators is sharing that personal story that you have connected to childcare. When you are meeting with a legislator, like Chrissy said, you have limited time, but if you make it personal and you connect it to how policy impacts you on a personal level, they're more likely to listen and more likely to remember that time that they spent with you. As someone who has worked with or worked for elected officials, I often would have meetings where people would come in with 10 handouts and 10 different asks, and my elected official that I worked for would be overwhelmed and would just hand me a stack of papers and be like, I don't know what to do this, I don't really know what they're asking, and it was really a wasted time. So you want to make sure that you go in with a personal story that's concise but personal, and that you're sharing the problem right away. So you're naming what the problem is, you're identifying it, you're using statistics to back you up, and then you're pivoting from that story and that problem to the legislative ask. We'll go over the legislative ask in the next slide, but you want to make sure that you are able to pivot to that legislative ask quick enough so that your story is impactful, but that the elected official or staff is not getting bored or getting lost kind of in what you're saying. And so I think it's really important to practice your story, whether that's practicing it with another parent, another advocate, or practicing even on your cat. I know yesterday I met on the Hill with one of our interns, and I had her practice with me just ahead of time, and her practicing really helped her get across, and then when questions came at her, she was ready to answer those questions. So from there, we're going to go on to what we're asking for this year.
Okay, so for those of you who were with us at Symposium and our Day on the Hill, this will probably look familiar. We are still focused on the CCDBG funding for next fiscal year, which is 2019 fiscal year budget. This is a lot of text and a lot of words. Basically, what we're asking for is $1 billion over this year's funding. So some of you may remember we got the largest funding increase for childcare in history. We're not ungrateful. That is a huge, huge help. But according to HHS, the Child Care and Development Block Grant is still actually underfunded. And this $1 billion above where we are right now would actually get us at fully funded block grants for the states. So this is important because when it was reauthorized in 2014, we added a lot of really necessary health and safety standards, specifically focus on disparate communities across the country, communities in need, additional subsidies. But we didn't actually get any funding to enact any of those changes. So part of the problem is that for the last 4 years, states have been operating basically at a deficit where they have to implement these new standards, but they don't have the funding to do so. That means that basically they either have to ask for deferments on really important safety and health requirements, which we don't want, or they have to cut the number of children that they serve, which we also don't want. So basically, we're just asking for the additional funding that Congress had originally promised us in the spring, but we're not phrasing it as you promised us this money. We're saying that this actual block grant is still technically underfunded without this additional $1 billion for next year's budget. So that's how we're framing it, not as a promise thing, because if any of you work with members of Congress, they make promises all the time. It's not really about that. It's about making sure that children and families are getting what they need, and they're getting a high-quality child care and early education. So our ask is going to be the $1 billion above 2018 fiscal year for next year's budget. This is actually a pretty easy ask to pivot to, regardless of what your story is focused on. For those of you who have had infant loss stories, we want the money to fully fund this block grant because we want to implement these needed health and safety standards, right? We want to stop this kind of tragedy from happening to other families. If your child care story is about access or cost, it's also important because we want to add additional funds for increased subsidy and hopefully increased reimbursement rates. So regardless of your personal child care story, it should be, hopefully for you guys, easy to kind of pivot and ask for this additional $1 billion for next year's budget. I know budget asks are not sexy. They're not really that interesting. Unfortunately, this is just how our Congress works. So thank you for bearing with us on a not sexy ask. We're hoping that when you share your personal story, that'll really kind of bring home the importance of this kind of funding issue. So we're going to move over to Liz Twilley, and she's going to talk about how to share about your visit on social media.
Okay, so in addition to talking with your legislators, we also want you to continue the conversation digitally, which is where sharing on social media comes into play. We will be talking about this issue as well, so if you don't already, you should follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. We are Child Care Works on all of those platforms. So we will also be sending out a sort of social media prep kit for you to kind of give you some further tips after this webinar, and we'll give you some sample tweets and posts and pictures, because pictures are extremely important when you're posting on social media. And so one of your tasks when you do meet with your legislators is to take photos of yourself and with your congressperson, if possible. at these events, and then tweet them, tag your senators. We will also send you out a resource so that you can easily access all of their social media handles, so you won't have to go digging around for them. And tweet these pictures, tweet about the event. It not only will engage your legislators on another level after you've seen them, it will also engage everyone else that is on these platforms so that you can help spread word about this issue, which is amazing. We do have a hashtag for Baby's First Town Hall, which is BFTH18. So if you could use that on any of your posts, that would be extremely helpful, because we will also be following that hashtag and we'll be liking and retweeting a lot of the things that you guys are posting. And then in addition to that, on Facebook, we won't really be able to see a lot due to Facebook's privacy settings. We won't be able to see a lot of what you're posting. So if you ever have anything, you can always feel free to send it to me. My email is liz.twilley@usa.childcareaware.org. I would love to have any of photos from your events, and I would love to post them so that we can get more engagement with you guys on our social media network. That would be phenomenal. But yeah, we just really want you guys to get engaged with digital media and social media so that you can talk to your senators and to your representatives and engage with us, and so that you can share your story.
Great, thanks, Liz.
So, like we said, this is really brief, and we just really wanted to outline the things we need from you now. And if you have any questions, feel free to type them into the box, or you can email us as well. But here are the things we need from you. We need you to schedule your meetings and complete the form. There's the link. The link is also included in your email, and I will include it in the follow-up email that I will send after this webinar. If you need any help scheduling your meetings, feel free to reach out to us. We have a couple days left with our summer interns who are really excited about helping schedule meetings with Congress members. So we have the resources to help you. Practice your child care story, whatever that may be, whether that's with your cat or with a friend. And then if you want to follow Child Care Works on social media beforehand, you can get a feel of other things we post and other things that we're talking about to build up more knowledge about things that Child Care Works is doing and things that have to do with childcare across the country. And if you have any questions or want help crafting your personal story, don't feel weird emailing us. We really want to help you. This is our job, is to help you tell your story and help you be an advocate. And then after, send us your pictures and share on social media. We're going to send out that social media guide that has examples of what to say before your meeting, during your meeting, and after your meeting, as well as other images to share and example tweets. So if you are not super familiar with social media or you feel kind of uncomfortable posting, we have you covered. You can literally copy and paste and put it right into your Facebook or Twitter. So we're really excited for you all to be advocates with us this year for Baby's First Town Hall. Again, if you have any questions, we are here to answer your questions. We want you to take pictures. We want you to email us with any questions. And then I'll also be sending out a follow-up email shortly after this webinar. And also, we'll be posting all those resources on our website as well. So, are there any questions in the box at all?
I'm not seeing any. And I know we went over this pretty quickly. So please, definitely reach out or type a question in the chat box, because this was really, really quick. But if you have any specific questions, even if it's, you think just relevant to your personal situation, feel free to reach out, and we're always happy to help with that. I'm not seeing any questions. Just give it another minute. So we are going to be sending out a follow-up email that will have links to the social media kit, the form to enter info once you've scheduled an appointment or found a town hall, so that we can kind of track where you guys are all going. It'll have a copy of the one-pager that you can print out to take to your visits. So all of your resources will be included in that, including a recording of this webinar. So, if you want to review any info, or if you want to share it with someone else who's going who wasn't able to attend, that's totally fine. We would love to have their input as well. And I guess thank you so much for joining us, and please feel free to reach out if you have any questions or anything before the event starts. Thanks so much, you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Bye.